Okay, so of course this is the beginning of the Biden administration's coming into power in January 2021 and implementing the withdrawal from Afghanistan that Donald Trump negotiated with the Taliban in 2020, and of course Donald Trump was hoping to get reelected, but then he failed to get reelected, and then he tried to carry out a coup to try to stay in office, but Biden administration accepted his negotiations with the Taliban to withdraw from Afghanistan, although a little bit later than Trump. This is in August. I think that Trump had agreed with the Taliban negotiating in Qatar, which of course has been in the news recently because Qatar was also a place where Israel has been negotiating with Hamas officials in Qatar, or at least Qatar officials were in Qatar. Hamas officials were in Qatar to use Qatar as intermediaries to negotiate with the Israelis because Israelis and the Hamas will not speak directly to each other. And then Israel tried to assassinate the Hamas negotiators in Qatar a few weeks ago. But also in Qatar is where the United States under Trump negotiated with the Taliban for the U.S. to get out, I think in the spring of 2021. And then Biden finally implemented it in August 2021, and it was not organized appropriately well enough to avoid the chaos that you saw, including people trying to desperate who had worked with the Americans. Many of them collaborated with the Americans to get out with the Americans from Afghanistan, so desperate that some of them tried to cling on to the last planes, U.S. Air Force planes trying to leave Kabul, and fell off the planes as the planes flew into the sky. And then, of course, a suicide bomber, ISIS suicide bomber, attacking the people trying to flee Afghanistan, with the assumption somehow that these people who want to get out of Afghanistan probably have been collaborating with the American occupiers of Afghanistan for 20 years up at that point. And then, of course, it goes even further out of the fear and desperation that ISIS bomber might attack again. The United States mistakenly killed a family that they thought was using a car that had bombs within it, which turned out to be wrong. They were not bombs, and killed an Afghan family through a drone strike. So one of the reasons I mention this, of course, is that Biden very much accepted what Trump had negotiated, the first Trump administration had negotiated. And your debate question for this week asked you the question or made the statement that the Trump administration is more likely to use deadly force compared to other U.S. administrations. And we've been talking a lot in class about these issues about the United States under Trump showing tendencies towards towards a type of political regime that might be more prone to engage in use of deadly force to satisfy or provide pride in American imperial exploits. But of course, you saw that it was the Trump administration that negotiated, the first Trump administration negotiated an American withdrawal from Afghanistan, and that Biden then implemented it. He didn't reject it. He didn't refuse to go. He implemented it. Now, he may have implemented it badly. And of course, Joe Biden, isn't involved in deciding everything. He as the president, he oversees a vast national security bureaucracy that is supposed to implement these details of how you would leave Afghanistan. But clearly, when Trump was running for re-election, he pointed to this failure of the Biden administration to orchestrate a withdrawal from Afghanistan in a coherent way that didn't see. I think in this bombing that you see here that happened with this recording here, something like 160 people died in that bombing, and including 11 Marines. That bomber that blew up, I guess it's that guy. You can't hit that person. He killed not only 150 Afghans, but like 11 U.S. Marines died in that bombing. And then, of course, there was the accidental killing of that Afghan family, thinking it was going to happen again. Another bombing was going to happen. And so, of course, the Trump campaign used that against Biden as part of its appeals to American voters to support Trump because Biden's incompetent. And Biden until this time, until August 2021, until this event happened, his public approval ratings were above 50%. Like more Americans said in public opinion surveys that they liked Biden than said they didn't like Biden. And then after this humiliation happened, it was a humiliation. It was, aside from the bad feelings, the feelings for the loss of the Afghans, the fact that America looked so bad, so humiliated with running away from Kabul, people desperate to stay on, unable to help the people that had collaborated with the Americans for the 20 years they were there. They were there for 20 years. They had lots and hundreds of thousands of Afghans who worked for them as translators, as fighters, as whatever, right? And then the Americans were bombed by this ISIS attack that killed 11 U.S. I think they were Marines, and so on. That this caused Biden's public approval ratings dropped below 50%, and they never recovered. They were never again above 50% again until the end of Biden's administration. Never recovered. Never again got above 50%. May have always stayed 40% as the highest level. So again, we highlighted we talked about the behavior of nation states, and I gave you eight descriptions of what nation states are more likely to behave, how they're more likely to behave nationalistically than non-nation states. And I highlighted one of the last ones I highlighted was that leaders of nation states are going to have more decisional latitude than non-nation state leaders to expand the influence of the state at their own discretion, right? The people will, okay, yeah, we need to invade Afghanistan and Iraq in response to the September 11, 2001 attacks in the United States. Yes, but then getting out is much more difficult because of humiliation that Americans take this personally. I'm an American, my government screwed up. So Joe Biden, you've humiliated me. So it took 20 years for the Americans to get out, and Trump was the one who negotiated with withdrawal his first administration to end this war. And so, is it really the case that that the Trump administration is more likely to use deadly force than other administrations? And of course, I highlighted in my comments to you about how, of course, the Truman administration decided it needed to stop Kim Il Sung from becoming the Otto von Bismarck of the Koreans by unifying them after they were divided in 1945 under his own president dictatorship. The United States said, no, that's not acceptable because he's supposedly working for Joseph Stalin in Moscow. And they fought a war that killed God knows how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the Korean War. And then they did it again in Vietnam. And this time they were not able to maintain South Vietnam, unlike South Korea. What about, you can go on and on and on about the case of the tremendous use of deadly force. And so then I highlighted in my comments to you about the last case of course, more recent cases, of course, because Trump was always attacking, not so much Bill Clinton, although he did talk about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton basically, being a nasty woman because she was so ambitious, she wouldn't divorce her philandering husband, Bill Clinton, who had sexual affairs with Monica Lewinsky. And, I heard this, all the time. And what kind of person is Hillary Clinton that she tolerates a husband who does those things? God, she's so ambitious, and that's not appropriate. A real genuine human being, female woman, American, would divorce such a person. But Hillary Clinton, she'll do anything, because she's blah, 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 blah. But more about Obama and Biden. Of course, it was George W. Bush who began to use drones, not other people. George W. Bush began to, of course, also ordered the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq in 2001 and 2003. It was George W. Bush who began using drones to assassinate people, kill people in Pakistan, not just in Afghanistan, but in Pakistan. And then it was Barack Obama who accelerated this even more and ordered the killing of an American citizen, al-Awlaki, and his son was also killed in that attack by drones, American citizens in Yemen, because the Obama administration decided that he was a terrorist, working with the terrorists to attack Americans and American interests in Yemen and elsewhere. I haven't heard any story about Donald Trump, so far, I can't think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, about Donald Trump ordering the assassination of American citizens abroad, like Obama did. Now he's killed other people, Venezuelans, right? 17 Venezuelans so far executed in strikes against supposed drug boats that he claims are smuggling drugs from Venezuela, which is questionable, to put it mildly. But he hasn't killed Americans like Obama did. Um, he's deported accidentally Americans or arrested them, but I don't know if he deported them. Well, I don't know, but I don't think so. But so I don't know. I mean, this question about whether or not you think that the Trump administration is most likely to use force. So let me remind you what my position is on this topic, because Iman is pro. So Iman gets to make this argument how Trump is supposedly more lethal, more likely to use lethal force in international affairs than previous administrations. But before I forget, let me go to the cyber campus and don't make sure I don't forget to do the attendance there. So I've got to go to the right. So I stop to share, and then I share screen here. So share, and we go to cyber campus and go share. And then I go to the foreign policy making of the United States here. And we go to attendance, and your smart attendance number is here, and it is 634. 634 is your smart attendance number, 634. And then we go to, so let's go here to stop share and go back to chats and go here and go 634, 634, like that. And there you go. And okay, and so we're already almost ready to go with the debate because it's a short class. So I just see if there's something else that I want to highlight here in my lesson plan. So let me go back to lesson plan, and yeah. So what's this? I have this. I have this here. What is this? Oh yeah, here's the So that was the accident where they thought that that this person was working for Islamic State and that he was loading up bombs in his car. He wasn't. He was loading, I can't remember what, propane gas tanks for heating because people cook with propane gas, and out of panic that there's going to be another suicide attack on the Kabul air base or somewhere, and so all part of this humiliation of the Americans, and nation states don't like to be humiliated, and Joe Biden, and that's what Donald Trump was a big focus of his campaign against Joe Biden because of this humiliation that Donald Trump insists he will never let happen again, supposedly. So, um, um, all right. So then we go back to stop share and let's go to our debate. And again, remind us what the debate topic is here. And we go share, and it is Imane will start. And so I need to go back to stop share and go to share all screen. Multiple participants can share simultaneously. So I've turned on multiple participants can share simultaneously. So Imani, you are also in the European Union politics class. So you know the routine. If you have a PowerPoint, open that up first, and then click on Zoom. Click to go back to Zoom. Don't close it. Don't close Zoom. Just click on the little button at the bottom on Zoom, and then click on the share screen green square button there and then find your PowerPoint and click on it and it'll open up so everybody can see it. Okay. Okay. And so you can get rid of that screen of me if you want to. I don't know, if you want to do that so that I'm no longer, on your PowerPoint. And because that's part of your screen, it's not my screen. So I guess, oh, is that me? I think you can click the little X here. If you click the X there at the top to get rid of my face. Click that. Yeah, that thing there. Can you click that?
Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And do you see my presentation?
Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
But are you seeing me in the middle of your PowerPoint and blocking your PowerPoint?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I will reduce it. Is it okay?
Yeah, you can get rid of it if you want to. If you can get rid of me there, but
No, it's okay. It's okay.
and then you can make the PowerPoint bigger if you click on the bottom, however you want to do, or if you want to, make it fill screen, you know how to do it if you know how to use PowerPoint so that it's all filled, your screen is filled.
There.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I will start.
Yes.
Hello everyone. So some of you may know the speech that Barack Obama did in 2006 at the University of Northwestern. He said, "There's a lot of talk in this country about the federal deficit, but I think we should talk more about our empathy deficit, the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and to see the world through those who are different from us." So, in the world we live in, the countries try to fight for their own interests, and we are becoming more and more selfish and less empathetic. Historically, the US has almost always been in that perception of life. The president has to protect the people of America and most generally the USA. Even when the US intervenes in other states' affairs, it was mostly because of their own interest. The previous quote reminds us the importance of empathy in leadership. But in contrast, the Trump administration is more driven by asserting dominance without trying to understand the others. So, for that reason, and the one that follows, I stand firmly in today's resolution that the Trump administration is more likely to threaten and use deadly force in foreign affairs than previous US administration. To understand my position, let's define some more of the definition. So the first one is the word administration, which is the management of public affairs. Then we have the word threaten, which means state one's intention to take hostile action against someone in retribution for something they have done or not done. And finally, deadly force, which is force, of course, but likely to cause death or serious bodily injury. So, of course, the value that I'm defending is empathy, which is the ability to share someone's feeling or experiences by imagining what it would be to be in that person's situation. My first argument is that Trump has a lot of power, especially in foreign policy. Of course, since the president is a symbol, a representative of the US at the world scale, and in fact, it was the Cold War which brought the most power to the White House in terms of foreign policy. And Trump didn't hesitate to assert himself as the holder of those powers. In fact, he launched the quote-unquote most powerful bomb in history in Afghanistan in 2017, which caused to totally demolish an ISIS tunnel. It was said that no civilians were killed, but it could have easily been the case. And so how can such a measure be taken so lightly? On top of that, the president has power in four fields, and especially notably in the conduct of warfare. So technically, Trump is the commander-in-chief of the armed force, and we have already seen that he tends to take action without thinking before. So making him in total power of those powers is quite dangerous. My second argument is that President Trump uses nationalism as a normative active. following Rockman's opinion, so in the book it was stated, political leaders often use foreign affairs as an escape to hide the inefficacy of their own domestic policy. And Trump used the national interest to justify armed conflict which occur in countries such as Afghanistan, Yemen, or Syria, for example. On the other hand, John Kirby, also in the book, questioned the ability of Donald Trump to really understand the national problems that the US is facing. And Trump is promoting the motto America First, which can really demonstrate his will to gain popular affection and by creating another evil that they must fight. And with that argument, it can easily justify the use of armed force and threat. What I'm hearing is we will do anything to assure our own safety, and what could be more in contradiction with the concept of empathy. And lastly, my last argument is that Trump has got a circle which comfort him about the use of force. So the NSC, which is the National Security Council, created in the late 40s, became actually the first advisor of the president since then. And in his first mandate, so from 2017 to 2021, Trump was notably advised by John Bolton. So Bolton has a view of foreign affairs which is often seen as hawkish, which means that he tends to promote armed conflict and threat. He actually messed up quite a few diplomatic discussions with countries such as North Korea, Venezuela, or Iran, because it was always in an aggressive point of view, so it led the other leaders to also adopt threatening approach. And now Trump is advised by Marco Rubio, which also seems to tend to use of force since the last attack by the US towards a boat which contained 11 people who died. And the Trump administration justified this attack by saying that they were drug dealers, but still now it still hasn't been proved. And so Mark Rubio said that they will, quote unquote, blow up foreign crimes group if needed. And last but not least, the vice president is also, of course, the first source of influence to the president of the United States. And the vice president of Trump is actually J.D. Vance, which seem even more dangerous as Trump, or even more, maybe. And so J.D. Vance defined the Trump doctrine with 3 steps. The first is to define an American interest. The second is to try to solve it by diplomatic resolution. And third, if it fails, you need to, quote unquote, deploy overwhelming army and then withdraw before the conflict escalates. Sorry, that's it.
Good timing. That's 6 minutes exactly. Great. Okay, so all right. Also, you can ask extra credit questions to get an extra credit point. And of course, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the presentation. So, does anybody have a question to ask Imane before I make my opening statement? And if you don't have it right now, she's going to speak twice more. So you have time to think about it to get that extra credit point just by asking a simple question. Okay, so let me make my opening statement about the issue. And of course, you already saw what I stated earlier regarding the issue. Of course, we saw that it was the first Trump administration that ended a war in Afghanistan, that negotiated into the war in Afghanistan. Now, now we're talking about the second Trump administration. Of course, I've spent a lot of time talking about indicators of what's going on with the Trump administration, but what have we actually seen so far in the Trump administration? So yeah, I mean, he targeted and killed 17 people claiming they were narco terrorists without without a trial. And you might think that that's terrible, but that's been going on for a long time. I mean, the United States. I mentioned George W. Bush was the first one to employ drones to say, okay, we've identified that person. He's a terrorist threat in Pakistan, not even Afghanistan, right? But during the occupation of Afghanistan from 2001, it was George W. Bush who first started doing that. The United States was judge, jury, and executioner. We just have to rely upon the decision of the U.S. bureaucracy, saying, well, we gathered this intelligence, we made an assessment, Mr. President, do you agree to execute this individual, to kill this individual before he, almost always he, is going to, carry out terrorist attacks against U.S. forces in Afghanistan or U.S. assets and interests in the region. We always just all judge, jury, and execution. And of course, it wasn't just in Pakistan and Afghanistan. It was also, I think, in other regions of the world as well. I mean, I think they were striking in places like or Somalia, right? Somalia also, drone strikes in Somalia, right? I think they might still be going on, right? Although I haven't seen news reports about it. But Somalia as well, another place. And I have to think about, in my head about other places where this is going on. So Trump isn't the first to do this. And of course, Trump would be the first to point out he's not the first to do this. We don't like Trump because Trump is Trump. But, he's not the first to do these things. And he ended a war in his first administration. So, and of course, far more people suffer and die from drug smuggling as a consequence of drugs being smuggled in the United States than what happens far away today in Somalia, right? Or and of course that invasion, 20 years is enough in Afghanistan, and Trump is the one who got the U.S. out of that. Biden represented this belief in America's global benign hegemony, right? That the United States is the indispensable nation. Remember, we did that exercise in the first week, and that the United States has to be everywhere. The United States has to be the leading force resisting Russian aggression against the Ukrainians and Chinese aggression against the Taiwanese. And of course, maybe creating the very monster that the United States claims to be trying to suppress and contain, because maybe China and Russia are belligerent because they see a threat from the United States, right? That if NATO hadn't expanded, we won't never know, but many people argue if NATO hadn't expanded because of this vast national security interests of the U.S. national security establishment that began to be formed, after World War II with the National Security Act, as you mentioned, in the late 1940s, the National Security Act that created the Department of Defense and was created because of the Cold War, the belief that the Soviet Union was a Russian version of Nazi Germany, and that went on for decades and involved trillions of dollars that were spent creating American military installations all over the planet, right? And one person this morning I heard said 155 countries there are American military installations. 155, right? How many? At least I heard estimates up to 800, right? And so, yeah, I mean, the United States might be perceived as a threat. So what's Trump trying to do? He's trying to convince the right, you could argue, that maybe not very effectively. First off, he's trying to take control of the bureaucracy. So he's not appointed a separate national security advisor. He's trying to put people in power in Washington that will do what he tells them to do, not what the bureaucracy tells them to do, not this vast national security establishment involving hundreds of thousands, not millions of people who have a vested interest in believing that the United States must have dominant influence around the world and suppress America's competitors, Moscow and Beijing, and making them more belligerent in reaction to this perceived threat that the United States is trying to build a de facto global American empire. Not without an emperor or king, but a de facto one. So he's trying to make peace with Putin. Maybe he's trying his best to try to convince Putin that America is no longer a threat in Europe. America is not interested in maintaining its dominance in Europe. America is not even interested in NATO, right? So he can make a deal with Putin to do business with America, and therefore Russia doesn't have to continue to keep the war up with Ukraine, because the national security bureaucracy led by people like Joe Biden, who's a professional politician who's been around for 50 years, they're no longer in charge. Right? Americans who are focusing on America first, not the well-being of the European Union and its European allies, and maintaining democracy and freedom in Asia through America's democratic allies in Taiwan and South Korea. No more of that. So don't worry about it, China. Don't worry about it, Russia. Now, I'm not saying it will work, but you can make the argument that America has created the enemies that it's trying to now justify containing with more military force, providing more weapons to. That's why Trump is not going to provide more military weapons to Ukraine. But he will sell them to the Europeans, but that's between the Europeans and the Russians. So that's my opening statement. So what is your rebuttal?
Okay. So I understand that your main point is that Trump and his administration, of course, use force, but just as much as the previous US administration. And of course, I say in my intro that in fact, the US, of course, has always been in that kind of perception of life. So they always use force. Even Barack Obama, that I quoted in the beginning of my presentation, he even started, as you say, such conflict like in Afghanistan or in Iraq, and himself was like the continuation of the Bush administration, which also started armed conflict. Uh, I'm not. Um, I'm not trying to say that Trump is the only administration who use force. Absolutely not. But the difference with the Trump administration, as we saw with the first mandates and the actual mandates, is that it is only Trump who choose to make decision. As I said, he has the support first of his population and of his government and administration. So for the population, we saw that not only in the United States but also in Europe and other countries, the far right is expanding its power, and so the cycle of fascism, debatedly fascism, is increasing, and people are becoming more and more less tolerant to other people, and the nationalism is taking its power back. So the use of force in this context is quite justified by the want of a part of the population, of course, not all the population, but a large part. And so I think that this popular justification allows him to use more use force in a way that is more accepted, I would say. And of course, the second part, so the government often comforts him in the use of force, as I said before. And I don't think that Trump makes decision alone, as you say. He, of course, is the president of the United States, but the people next to him and behind him also has a part of influence. I think that is quite that it mustn't be neglected to understand the position and the way that the foreign affair of the United States is taken. And so, yeah, as I say, John Bolton has completely been in the same state as him during his first mandates, and Mark Rubio, as I say, completely accepted the attack on the boat, which killed 11 people. So, what's the value of a human life? And on top of that, it wasn't even proved that they were drug dealers, but he approved it anyway. So I don't think that those factors must be forgotten, and I also think that it plays a great part in the foreign policy of the U.S. actually. So yeah, for me, the Trump administration is well more likely to use deadly force. Moreover, he started armed conflict without really declaring war in any of the country where the United States launched military forces. So it's kind of more vicious, I would say, and could tell about his intention. And Europe is not safe either way, because if now Trump is saying is trying to make friends with Putin, it could easily attack Europe tomorrow. So yeah, that's my point.
Um, well, again, let me make my rebuttal. And anybody have any extra credit questions? Anybody have a question to Imani regarding her rebuttal? Going, just speak up. You have to unmute yourself if you want to speak. Going once, going twice. Okay, she'll speak once more when she concludes. So let me make my opening statement, my concluding statement and rebuttal. Okay, but again, he fired John Bolton. Donald Trump had like 4 different national security advisors at some point in total in his first term. And John Bolton, he fired him after I don't know, a year or two. And John Bolton is one of his main political adversaries today. And he just ordered, they just raided his home because they think that John Bolton had classified documents that he took from his office and raided his home. But John Bolton's all over social media and Times Radio and also criticizing Trump. He may have shut up now because now they're trying to charge him with some kind of a crime, and so he's now got to be careful about statements he makes since his home was raided by the FBI just a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago. But he's an enemy of Trump. And, it was John Bolton who notoriously entered into a National Security Council meeting or some kind of meeting where there was something written down about Venezuela, 5,000 troops. In other words, implying the United States is going to send 5,000 troops to get rid of Nicolas Maduro, the president dictator in Venezuela. I mean, but has Donald Trump invaded anybody yet? Is he unlike George Bush or Bill Clinton bombed Kosovo, Serbia over Kosovo in 1999 and dropped a few bombs earlier in Bosnia? Or I mean, what wars did Barack Obama stop? Well, he may have agreed to withdraw from Iraq. That was one thing that Barack Obama did. And then, of course, ISIS emerged in Iraq, and I think it might have been, yeah, it must have been Obama who sent them back in, and they're still there. But in terms of let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Which is, of course, Gaza and Israel. Well, I mean, from the point of view of somebody like Trump, he inherited decades long of U.S. Strong, close, unwavering support for Israel since 1967. So Donald Trump is not God. He's a political actor. He is thinking about. I know he's not probably going to be reelected, right? But he's thinking about the political effects of what he leaves office. He doesn't want to make tremendously powerful enemies in the United States and the Republican Party, particularly people with money who could hire lawyers. Like many people in the Zionist lobby in the United States, the Israel lobby, have a lot of rich, wealthy people who are intensely focused on Israel and think Israel is a life and death issue. If he puts Israel in danger, he's going to get those people and their elite circles and aides mobilized to punish him when he leaves office. He also wants to have his children have a political career and maintain a dynasty, right? I mean, and you can say, well, that's pretty selfish. Well, that's political reality. And again, this isn't something Donald Trump created. This started decades earlier, right? I mean, Israel started building those settlements in the West Bank immediately after the 67 war when they took that place. That started, and that was under a labor government in Israel. That wasn't something that the right wing started when they finally came to power in the mid-1970s under Likud. And that all supported by the United States. Financially, militarily, well, this is going on, right? So this problem has now escalated under Biden when Hamas, out of desperation, out of what was going on with the potential recognition by Saudi Arabia of Israel to join the Abraham Accords, and meanwhile, just completely writing off the Palestinians, then launched that attack. Incursion into Israel, and then produce the situation we face now. So what are we going to do now? What are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? Now you say, well, the United States under Trump went to war with Iran. He dropped bombs on Iran. Right? Dropped 13 of the mother of all bombs. He did 13 of those, not one, 13 on Iran, on Iranian nuclear sites, right? And that was. I think 13 of those mother bombs were dropped to try to destroy them at Fordo and so on. Now, the question is, what was the story behind that? We still don't know the full story behind that. The Iranians knew that was coming. So the United States signaled to the Iranians, move that stuff out of the way. Now, why did they do that? Because, I don't know. I've just seen different people like this Lawrence Wilkerson. He's on that Judging Freedom podcast. He said on one of these Judging Freedom podcasts that another person on that Judging Freedom contest, his name was Gilbert Doctorow. Doctorow, who works in Europe, said a German in the European Parliament with ties to Iran said, what did he say? I don't see anybody else backing this up, but I can show it to you in class. That Benjamin Netanyahu said if he's going to use nuclear bombs against Iran to eliminate Iran's nuclear program, and to stop Israel from doing that, because we know Israel's got many bombs, Trump said, "Don't do it. I will bomb the Iranian nuclear sites with these Moab, mother of all bombs." But you don't, so don't do it. So Trump may have done that to prevent Iran from using nuclear weapons against Iran. Israel to prevent Israel from using nuclear weapons against Iran. So now I haven't seen anybody follow up and make that point beyond what I saw when I was just happened to be fed that through my algorithm on social on YouTube, right? But I mean, that's the problem we face, right? Israel now has this genocidal regime leading it, and it's not inconceivable they would use nuclear weapons because, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu said the problem for all of Israel's problems, they believe, go back to Iran. That all these issues that they face are Iran. You got to get rid of Iran. There needs to be Iran threat needs to be eliminated, and they cannot occupy Iran, but they have nuclear weapons, and the Americans could get sucked in to try to avoid a nuclear. So this latest peace plan, or this so-called peace plan that the Americans have come up with Gaza, that's the best we can do. Basically, have the place under American administration, and that way, yeah, but you're right. The Gazans are not going to get a state, but that's not Donald Trump's fault, right? Politically, you can't blame that on him, right? This goes way back to the '60s, right? So that's where I would stop on my response. So again, now Imani is going to speak now, and this is going to be the last chance to ask an extra credit question when she's finished. So please think about an extra credit point question to ask her, and so so that when she's finished, you're ready to go. Okay, Imani.
Okay, so to conclude my presentation and to react to what you just say, of course, the Palestinian issue is not something that started with Donald Trump. Like you say, it comes from the '60s at least. But I think that Trump has absolutely no empathy during the Palestinian people. If he had, he wouldn't have made like this video promotion about making the Gaza piece of heaven, like with big buildings, etc. And it will have stopped Israel from a long time from now. But anyway, to retalk about the point that I've made. Obviously, I think that the previous administration of the US are absolutely not clean. They also did quite a few bad things and started armed conflicts or even war. But such as I say before, like the Trump administration is very more likely to act freely about the use of force and a threat. Like I say, it is encouraged by the population, as I say, by the use that he make of nationalism to justify what he's doing right now, and of course his government, because during all his mandates, it was advised by a few people, such as Bolton or Morio, who are inclined to the use of force. And during his first mandate, he actually encouraged the one that voted for him to like attack the Capitol. So it's also a form of your force use. And of course, like I just say, the way that he acts is just selfish and doesn't absolutely think about other people. Empathy is not in his vocabulary, and so yeah. On top of that, the way that Trump acts has no rationality in his kind of action. He can think about attacking a country today and tomorrow choose to attack another one. So I think it's justified by the hegemony of the US that is quite accepted in the academic fight and political fight, that the US is quite as a supremacy at the world scale. That it allows him to do that. But yeah, I think that I stand firmly in my position that the Trump administration is more likely to use threat and deadly force. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now here is your chance to ask an extra credit question. Who wants to ask an extra credit question? Please unmute yourself and just speak. You don't need to, or you can raise your hand under Zoom. It's up to you.
I have a
Um,
question actually. Can you hear
okay,
me?
who's speaking,
Yeah,
please?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
Pak Chi-won.
Yeah, it's you on part.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I actually agree mostly for her presentation, but I just wanted to ask about your concept of the selfish, like American being selfish, because I think partially like self-oriented behavior is normal for like foreign affairs because of the traits of anarchism in global society, or do you think it's just a trace of U.S. government currently?
No, I think as you just said that selfish is quite developed in the political field, and of course, each government will firstly think about its own population and the well-being of its nation. But I think that more generally, when you take foreign action and you intervene in other people's business or start war conflict, you have to think about the civilian population first. And like in Afghanistan in 2017, during Trump's first mandate, the bomb that it launched was so enormous. It was, I think it's called like the mother of bomb, since it's used one of the most powerful bomb of all time. And so it could have killed easily a thousand of people, I think. It's just because the location of the bomb when it dropped was very well located. But yeah, you can make such decision without thinking about other people on the world.
Thank you. Next question. Who else would like to ask a question? And going once, going twice, going three times. Okay, so let me see here. Go back to one participant can share at a time, and let me see here what I have open on my computer, and hopefully don't accidentally shut down everything by hitting the wrong button. And so we go to Gemini, and so again, I always want to show you what I'm doing. So we go back to Zoom and I share here, share, and go to here. There's Gemini. So we go to share and say, how many Moabs did Trump drop on Iran? Did Trump drop on Iran? Drop on Iran. And it says here, yeah, oh, not Moabs. Okay, it says zero. However, sourcing in June 25, during a six military operation against Iranian nuclear sites, Trump announced that six GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator bombs, a different, larger bunker buster weapon, were dropped on the Fordo facility. So, yeah, I'm sorry, it was a different one. It wasn't a Moab, it was a MOP. 14 were dropped on Iranian nuclear sites. Um, so, again, this was made specifically to penetrate a bunker buster bomb, right? So it wasn't the exact same one as they were dropped on Afghanistan. So, okay, so let me go back then to the cyber campus and say stop share and then open up the cyber campus here. So like this, cyber campus, and go to back to Zoom and share and go to here and uh, and so, of course, we go back to the vote. So please, you can see the vote on terms of please vote on who won the debate and grade the debate in particular, and also presentation style and opening statements and rebuttals and presentation styles. And like because I want you to think about how you also will prepare your own debate when it's time to make your debate. And yeah, this will be recorded, so it's being recorded. So I'll post the recording on the website on the course site so you can see it. And so in the time remaining, which is about a minute, I guess, if I go to stop share and I go back to share and I go back to the lesson plan, and of course, since we're talking about the power of the U.S. presidency, you can see here, yeah, this is a video I was listening to this morning. on judging freedom, and of course, so we go ahead. So we'll talk about this later. This is Eisenhower in his farewell address, warning about the military industrial complex becoming so big and powerful in the American political system because it's so large, it's so huge, and has so much money that it's going to shape American politics in a way favoring use of military force and spending more money on military instead of on American social needs. So this is often cited as evidence that he was a good guy, he was a good president. I mean, it's more complicated than that because he's making this statement on the eve when he's ready to leave, and John F. Kennedy's ready to come in 1961. So that's where we are today, and that's it for now. So, any questions? If not, then we're done. Okay, so we stop share, and I'll see some of you on Monday. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.